Hi dear students, in this series we are discussing a poem Ode to a Nightingale by John Keats. In the last lecture we completed the fourth stanza of the poem and today we are going to begin the fifth. So in the fourth stanza we saw that the poet is already in the world of the nightingale. By the help of his poetic imagination, the poet was able to transport himself in the happy world of the nightingale. And there he goes on discussing the atmosphere, dimly lighted atmosphere of the world of the nightingale. Now here in the fifth stanza we would see that the poet says, I cannot see what flowers are at my feet, nor what soft incense hang upon the boughs, but in embalmed darkness gaze each sweet, wherewith the seasonable month endows the grass, the thicket, and the fruit tree wild, white hawthorn and the pastoral eglantine, first fading violets covered up in leaves, and mid-May's eldest child, the coming mask rose full of dewy wine, the murmurous haunt of flies on summer's eve. So we see that in the previous stanza we have already known that though the queen moon is on her throne, though the moon is in the sky, still the world of the nightingale is not completely lighted. There is no light except the light that enters into the world of the nightingale when the breeze blows and a zigzag passage is created. That is why the place is almost dark. So here he says, because of the darkness, the poet says, I cannot see what flowers are at my feet. The poet cannot see what the flowers are at the ground at his feet, nor what soft incense hang upon the boughs. He even cannot see what are the flowers, scented flowers, soft incense, that is soft scented or good scented flowers, fragrant flowers. What flowers are, I cannot see what flowers are at my feet, nor what soft incense hang upon the boughs. What are the scented flowers that are hanging from the branches of the trees? It is also not seen by the poet. So he says, I cannot see what flowers are at my feet, nor what soft incense hang upon the boughs. The poet can neither see the flowers that are in the ground, he can nor see the flowers which are hanging from the branches of the trees. Why? Because of the darkness. Though the moon is in the sky, but the moonlight, because of the deep vegetation, because of the density of the forest, because of the leaves, the light hardly enters into the world of the nightingale, and that is why the poet cannot see the flowers which are on the ground or which are hanging from the branches of the trees. I cannot see what flowers are at my feet, nor what soft incense hang upon the boughs, but in embalmed darkness gaze each sweet, wherewith the seasonable month endows. But in embalmed darkness. So embalmed darkness means richly scented darkness. But in that darkness, which is full of, the atmosphere is full of good fragrance, good scent, and the scent of the flowers made the darkness an embalmed darkness, a richly scented darkness. So in that embalmed darkness, richly scented darkness, gaze each sweet. I can gaze each sweet means each sweet flowers, sweet fragrant flowers, the flowers smelling sweet smell. All right, so the poet says that though I cannot see what are the flowers there hanging and what are the flowers on my foot, still I, with the help of the scent, sweet smell of the flowers, I can identify them. I can gaze what may be the flowers around me. So So he says, but in embalmed darkness, gaze each sweet. He can gaze, he can identify each of the scented flowers, wherewith the seasonable month endows. Wherewith means with which, with the help of the flowers, scented flowers, with which the seasonable month endows. The seasonable month, that is the month of May. Later it is mentioned mid-May's eldest child. So the seasonable month, that is the month, or proper season for flowers, that is of course the month of May. So wherewith the seasonable month endows means decorates. The month decorates the atmosphere, decorates the nature, decorates the world of the nightingale with the help of few scented flowers. And now the poet would discussing he would be going on to discuss, and he would be telling the names of the scented flowers with which the month, seasonable month, decorates the world, decorates nature. So he says, but in embalmed darkness gauge each sweet, wherewith the seasonable month endows. Now what are the scented flowers? He says, the grass, the thicket, and the fruit tree wild. He can gaze, though he cannot see because of the darkness, but he can gaze that there are the grasses, the grass, the thicket, there are the thicket, that is the bushes, the grass, the thicket, and the fruit tree wild, and there are wild fruit trees as well. White hawthorn and the pastoral eglantine. The poet also can gaze that there is the white hawthorn. Hawthorn is a kind of thorny shrubs that is found in the forest, that grows itself, right? So he says the white hawthorn and the pastoral eglantine. Pastoral, that is rural, that belonging to countryside. Rural eglantine. Eglantine is also a kind of flower which is kind of rose, wild rose. So these are the flowers that the poet can gaze, may be present in the world of the nightingale. And in addition to that, there are also the flowers, that is, he says, white hawthorn and the pastoral eglantine. The first fading violets, the violet flowers which fade away, wither away very quickly, covered up in leaves, and these flowers are covered with their leaves. And there is also mid-May's eldest child. There is another flower, mid-May's eldest child. What is the mid-May's eldest child? The coming mask rose. Mask rose is a kind of rose which is also present there. The poet imagines, he actually gazes that mask rose is also present there. So mask rose is called mid-May's eldest child. Mid-May's eldest child, that is the flower that blooms first or earlier in the middle of May. That is why it is called mid-May's eldest child. Say, for example, if 15th of May is the middle of the month, then after 15th, the first flower, mask rose, that blooms, it is called the eldest child of mid-May. That is the mask rose. So mid-May's eldest child, the coming mask rose, the mask rose which are yet to bloom very soon. Mid-May's eldest child, the coming mask rose, which are full of dewy wine. So dewy, sticky wine. Here wine is the nectar, the honey that the bees gather from the flowers, right? So it is actually the cell or the cup of the mask rose. It is called the murmurous haunt of flies, which is full of dewy wine, because it is full of honey now, full of nectar. So the poet says that mid-May's eldest child, full of dewy wine, and these dewy wines made the flower what? The murmurous hunt of flies. Murmurous hunt of flies. The flies hunt there, they visit there randomly. It has become a gathering place for the flies because it is its cell, the cup of the flower mask rose, it is full of honey, full of nectar. That is why it is called divine wine, and it has become the marmaras hunt. Hunt means a place that is randomly visited by the flowers here, by the flies here, and it is called marmaras because the bees, the flies, they murmur as they visit there, they make the murmuring sound. So he says the marmaras haunt of flies on summer eve. So on the evening of the summer, all the flies, bees, they gather there because the mask rose, the cup of the mask rose is full of wine, full of nectar, and that nectar made the place the murmurous hunt of flies when on the evening of the summer. So this is how the fifth stanza of the poem ends. So in the fifth stanza we see that the poet discussed what may be the flowers, though he cannot see the flowers in the world of the nightingale. Why cannot he see? He cannot see because there is not enough light in the world of the nightingale. Why? Because the place is a gloomy place, because of the deep vegetation, because of the density of the leaves, the moonlight cannot enter into the world of the nightingale, and that made the world a dark one, gloomy one. And in that gloomy atmosphere, the poet cannot see what the flowers there on his feet, that is on the ground, and what the soft scented flowers that are hanging from the branches of the trees. But because of his very good power of a smell, he can gaze by the sweet smell of the flowers, he can gaze what may be the flowers around him. So this example, this stanza can be taken as a fine example of Keats' sensuousness, because we see that his senses are very strong. His senses are very strong. That is why he can gaze, and by this power of his sense, he can identify the flowers, though he cannot see with his eyes. And he identifies the flowers. There are the white heather, the grasses, the thicket, the eglantine, then the first fading violet, the mask rose, and then the mid-May's eldest child. So these all are the flowers which are present in the world of the nightingale, which though the poet cannot see, but he can gaze them by the sweet fragrance of the flowers. So this is how the fifth stanza ends. So in the next video we shall start the sixth stanza of the poem. Thank you.